Hey everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back. So my name is Katie if you're new, and this is going to be my November Pan That palette update. So I've got a little bit of progress to share with you guys. This is my first update with my Norvina palette, but I'm also working on one shade from this palette as well. So I'm going to start off with the last of my originals. So I've been working on a combo of the Pat McGrath Mini Sublime and the Natasha Denona Mini Retro. So as of the last update, I had 2 shades left. I was hoping to completely finish Industrial, which was the greenish silver shade, and I was really hoping to finally re-hit pan on the repressed version of Sextrovert, which was the bronze. So that was what my palette was looking like last month. This is what it's looking like right now. So as you guys can see, I did actually manage to hit both of my goals. I did obviously fully finish Industrial, and I did re-hit pan on Sextrovert. With Industrial, it took me 10 additional uses to finish this. I said in the last update I thought 5 to 7 uses, and it did take me a little bit longer, but I did manage to get that one finished, and according to my spreadsheet it took me 57 total uses to finish this, which I think is about on par with Corruption as well. So that's been sort of tracking similarly for a lot of the other shimmers in this palette, with the exception of Sinful, which I had finished as of the last update, which I was mainly using as an inner corner highlight or like center of a halo eye kind of situation. So I'm really happy to have Industrial done. This was such a delight to work on. That probably was my favorite shade aside from Galaxia, which was the glitter topper in Mini Retro, so I'm really happy to have that one finished. So that leaves me with my last remaining shade in this palette, which is Sextrovert. I repressed this about 2 months ago, and I've been really struggling to re-hit pan on it. I thought it would take me a lot less time than it did, but it finally happened very recently. I think it was last week or the week before, so a fairly recent update as far as that goes. So this took me an additional 13 uses to hit pan, so I have used it quite a bit since the last update, especially for the first like couple of weeks. I think I'm at like 5 weeks after when I filmed my last update. It took me quite a while to re-hit pan on Sextrovert, definitely a lot more work than I anticipated, and I've used it 2 additional times since hitting pan for 15 uses. So as you guys can see, I do have a little bit of a pan. The pan on this one does expand every single time I use it, which is great, but I feel like I'll be really pushing it to see if I can finish this shade within the next 6 weeks. This one might end up coming into 2023 with me. We'll see how that one goes, but I am encouraged that I have finally managed to re-hit pan, because that's been a goal for the last couple of updates. Didn't make it happen, and it finally happened, so I'm happy about that. So I'm down to my last shade, which is exciting on that palette. So moving on to my ABH Norvina palette. This came in last month. I feel like my interest on this one kind of fell off a little bit over the past few years, but having focused on this palette a little bit more for a month, I've been really enjoying it. I feel like I made the right choice, especially for where I am right now in my life. As of the last update, I had finished one shade. I'd repressed a couple of shades in from the Carly Bible palette, which is why mine does look a little bit different than the original version of the Norvina. So I had a couple of focus shades. I wanted to focus on Summer and see if I could hit pan on that one. That was the gold shade. I wanted to go for pan expansion on Incense, which is the lighter of the browns, and then I was hoping that I would be able to increase the dip on Incense, which is the mustardy orange shade, and I was also hoping that I could re-hit pan on Passion, which is the burgundy matte. So that was what my palette was looking like last month, and then this is what it's looking like right now. And my camera does not really want to focus, but here we go. So as you guys can see, I accomplished a couple of those goals. So I didn't hit pan on Summer. I kind of thought I would. I feel like I'm close. I think by next month I can probably make that happen, but that didn't quite happen. But as you guys can probably tell, I do have like a little bit more of a dip going on that one. You can definitely tell that it's been used. So I've used Summer 5 times since the last update. I have expanded that dip, but I'm not quite at pan yet. I imagine another 5 or so uses and I'll probably get there. So I think it's doable by next month. Didn't quite happen this month, and that's okay. I think I'll get a little bit more use out of this one going into the holiday season, and I do have plenty of time on this one. Even though I was hoping it would happen, I have a couple of other things that happened that kind of made up for it. So next up I've got Wild Child. I've used this one 4 times, and this one definitely has a good amount of pan expansion as well as some flattening of the pan, and the main reason for that is because I've been using this one mostly as a blush topper because it is kind of semi-sheer. I did put this all over my eyelids when I was running late one morning, and I just wanted a one and done just to see how it worked. It's not my favorite color on me, but I tried it. I would probably do it again, but I can't see that being something that I do super often. So I think the way that I'm most likely to finish this one up is just using it as a blush or a blush topper, or as a highlight depending on what I'm wearing as a blush. So I'm really happy with the progress on this one going forward, and I think using this one the way that I do, I would be surprised if I managed to finish this one within the next couple of months. The only shade that I haven't used this month is Rose Gold, because this is such a favorite for me throughout the winter and spring, so I'm kind of saving it a little bit, especially while I try to focus on finishing up some of the other shades, but I definitely am going to be trying to reach for it in the coming months. So next up I've got Celestial. Not a significant amount of change here. I've used it twice. I know I'm going to gravitate more towards this one throughout the winter, so I'm not pushing myself to use this one a ton right now because I know its time is coming and it's just not quite right now. I'm still like holding on to fall. Dazzling, I've got a little bit of pan expansion, I think very minimal, but it there. I've used this one 3 times, mostly on like the center of my eyelid, just to kind of blend the gradient between Summer and Passion, or whatever darker shade I'm using on the outer third. This one I think I'll be getting more into soon as well, but I'm kind of holding back on this one a little bit until I can get Sextrovert done, and then once that's done I'll be reaching into this one more. And then Drama I've used 4 times. I think there's a little bit more of a dip forming on this one, and it's a little bit wider. I'm just trying to remind myself to reach for it and use it whenever I can if I want to see any kind of significant progress on this one. And I'm not as fussed about finishing this one, but I'm just going to kind of give it my best shot and see how it goes. Then with base, it's kind of hard to tell because I repressed this one, but I do actually think I'm getting fairly close to re-hitting pan on this one. It's a little bit hard to tell because of the way that I've been sticking my brush in there and wearing it down. I've usually been reaching into this one as an inner corner highlight, brow bone. I've also been using it as a face highlight sometimes. Again, I don't think I'll have any issues finishing this one off, but I also expect that it might take a while. Probably expectedly, this has been one of my most used shades this month. I've used it 10 times. It's been very easy to incorporate. So I think similar to Sinful from the Pat McGrath Mini Sublime, this is just going to be a slow but steady kind of progress thing, but I do reach into this most of the time that I do my makeup in some capacity. Then we've got Soul. I've been trying to figure out ways to make this one work. It's not my favorite. It's a little bit too blue toned, but I do have a lilac in my pan those eyeshadows, and so I've been pairing those together fairly frequently. I think for me, I've just discovered that if I'm gonna wear this needs to be an all over lid shade and maybe not so much in the crease, because it can make me look a little bit bruisey or a little bit sick. But I actually surprised myself by reaching into Soul 4 times this month, and I think we can tell there's like a little bit of pan expansion going on this one. I'm not going to be putting a ton of effort into finishing this one, but I do want to see if I can find ways that I enjoy it. My favorite way that I used this one this month was by throwing a lighter purple in the crease and then packing this all over the lid and blending it up into the purple as an all matte eye look. I really enjoyed that, and I think I'll probably continue to do that. I thought that looked much more flattering on me than using this as a crease shade and then something else on the lid. Then Incense, I've also got, I feel like, some pretty decent pan expansion on this one as well. I have reached into this one 10 times since the last update, and it's been a very easy to use transition shade if you go in pretty lightly, but it's also fairly pigmented, so it can definitely be built up more too. And I've been really liking that one paired with Summer, Dazzling, or Sextrovert. Then Love, I've used once. This is also one that can be worn as a blush for me, so I probably will be dipping into that one as a blush in the future. Again, I've been kind of holding back on this one. I know I'll really enjoy using this paired with Rose Gold and Volatile and probably Passion as well throughout the winter and spring, so I'm kind of holding myself back on this one and focusing on the shades that are a little bit more fall to me, but this one's time is definitely coming. Give me like a month or two and I think I'll be definitely much more inspired to reach for this one. Then with Volatile, I didn't expect to hit pan on this one because this has felt a little bit more hard pressed than some of the other mattes, but I actually hit pan on this one, I think it was yesterday or the day before, but like very, very recently, so I was really happy about that. It is a very tiny pan, but it's still a pan, and I've actually surprised myself again by how much I used Volatile this month. I used it 10 times, so I guess I can't be that surprised that I hit pan, but yeah, I just didn't quite expect it to happen so soon, so I'm really happy about that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this pan expands. Then Eccentric, this was one of my focus shades from the last month. I used it 7 times. This is much more firmly pressed and doesn't kick up quite as much as some of the other mattes in this palette, like Incense, Love, and Soul, so this one is definitely going to take me much longer. It's a much more slow going shade. I have really enjoyed reaching into this one, especially this time of year when I want like the warm tones and the mustards, and I think with this one there definitely is a little bit more of a dip forming, but like I said, this is definitely going to be slow going, so I'm just going to continue chipping away at it and we'll see how it goes. And lastly, we have Passion, which I was hoping to hit pan on, and I did. It took me 6 additional uses, so I was pretty close, all things considered, and I've used it an additional 2 times for 8 uses overall, so I'm really happy with at least my first 5 weeks of progress on this palette. So I'm being summoned and I gotta go, but just to wrap this one up really, really quickly, my focus shades very much for this month are going to be mostly the same as last month. I do really want to continue focusing on Summer. I would really like to hit pan on that one by the next update. Also going to be really leaning into Sextrovert and just trying to get as close to finishing that one as I can between now and the end of the year. Base as well, I would like to re-hit pan, and then I just want to go for Eccentric for deepening that dip, and then pan expansion on everything else. So that is pretty much everything that I've got for this update. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. As always, feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more of my face. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like, and if you're doing this project, let me know down below how it's going for you and what you're working on for this year, and also what you're thinking about working on next year, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one. Bye!